Alright, how's it going, my magnificent sons of bitches? Now, I come across a video, Melanie Mack trying to, what she called womansplain, a Godzilla to Jeremy of the Quartering. Had to go back and re-record this video because, sorry Jeremy, I called you Jeremy boring in the last fucking video I did of this. So I had to go back, record this, but it's Jeremy of the Quartering, fucking watching too much of the damn Ben Shapiro and Candace Owens, which I don't care about anyways. But I wanted to go ahead and give a thorough, because it seems like Melanie's a little bit confused. And while she claims to be a Godzilla fan, I don't know if she is actually a Godzilla fan or if she's just trying to get into it. Okay. Alright, she's just trying to get into it. I don't know. With that being said, I figured I would go ahead and do a video response, because clearly she doesn't know exactly what she's talking about when she's talking about the Godzilla universe. So let's go ahead and get into the video, and then yeah, I'll go through it real quick if it'll play.
Disco covers is not related to this stuff, but how many people are going to see Godzilla Kong movie tomorrow?
I'm watching that on Saturday with my family. I can't wait.
I don't understand Godzilla at all. I'm sorry. I don't understand it. I saw probably one of the worst. If you're like a Godzilla fan, what I'm about to say is you're probably going to say, like, no wonder. But like a lot of people, I saw that Godzilla 2000 or whatever the hell with Matthew Broderick.
Oh, the 1998 one. That one sucked.
Well, okay. So that's the only Godzilla movie I've ever seen, and I was like, everyone's
no
like,
wonder you don't like it. You have to watch -1.
Everyone says I have to see is it streaming yet?
Not yet. I think it's because, you know...
Now, I'm a little iffy on -1 here, by the way, because everybody said how great Shin Godzilla was, and I'm sorry, I'm just not gonna like one that focuses too much on Japanese politics, because I don't live in fucking Japan, and, you know, when you have to read the subtitles and do all this stuff, just not an interest to me. You know what I'm saying? I know that there are people that like it. I know they like the Japanese stuff coming over from Japan, because it sucks a lot less than our fucking woke-ass culture over here. I get it, but, you know, y'all fooled me once with Shin Godzilla. I'll just wait till it comes out. I bought Shin Godzilla. I own Shin Godzilla. But it's not one of my favorites. So, anyways, we'll go on.
You've got this Godzilla X Kong coming out, and they don't want to, like...
Oh, yeah.
compete with itself, essentially, even though it's different. But yeah, once that starts streaming, you have to watch it. It is amazing. You will like it.
So is Godzilla a good guy or a bad guy?
Well, he's sometimes both. He's kind of an anti-hero, but the thing is I feel like with the American stuff, they do try to paint him more heroic than... Japan is not afraid to make Godzilla a straight-up bad guy. At the end of the day, it's like, okay, Godzilla is a giant lizard. Godzilla's going to do what he wants and what's in his best interest. Sometimes it happens to be good, sometimes it happens to be bad. He basically wants to be the apex predator. That's the best way to describe it. And that's why you see him fighting a bunch of other titans. What does he eat? That's a good question. Fish? I think fish? I don't...
Okay. Now, Godzilla eats radiation. By all means, I just figured I'd go and clear that up. In most of the continuities, it's always radiation, except for the one event in... and I don't consider the 98 Godzilla because it's not. It's Zilla, and he was killed off in 2004. Godzilla 1998 is in and of itself its own character. It's just Zilla. That's who it is. And like I said, you go back, watch Final Wars, he was killed immediately in that movie. And except for the one Godzilla in like Godzilla vs. Megalon, which they say that Godzilla is actually a vegetarian, which is probably going to piss off Melanie a little bit, but we'll go ahead and go on.
Did like the 1998 version.
He lives in the ocean, right, at the bottom?
Yeah, and he so basically, if there's just like some threat, some like King Ghidorah or something, Godzilla's gonna be like, whoa, wait a minute, I need to take this thing out. I'm supposed to be the apex predator.
Okay.
Yeah.
So he's got to be the #1 dude. And then, so sometimes in accomplishing that, he's doing something that's beneficial to mankind, but sometimes in accomplishing that, it is not beneficial to mankind.
Exactly, and he also does really enjoy smashing Tokyo, so he does have fun with that, but he does it. This is the best way to explain it. I saw a meme. When Godzilla destroys Tokyo, it's all good. If anybody else destroys Tokyo, that's when he gets mad.
Okay, I get it. So that does make me understand him more.
All right. So with that being said, there's a reason why. All the Godzilla kaiju, right? They're actually metaphors for countries and whatnot. And I'm going to go over the metaphor. It's basically Godzilla. The Godzilla universe is explaining geopolitics, actually, at the end of the day. A lot of movies actually do. But we know that for a fact Godzilla was made off of a specific incident. So we know exactly who represents Godzilla. We'll go ahead and hit the little click back button here. And then we'll slide over. So Godzilla is the United States of America. Tokyo doesn't even try to hide this with their first movie. It's basically the first Gojira was the devastation of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, basically. It was basically the whole Godzilla mythos is built around the United States of America. United States of America comes in, they fuck up a place. They're not really good at rebuilding, but they'll definitely fuck your country up, leave, and then let it fall apart and dilapidate. You know? And then the countries have to end up building themselves together after the United States comes in. That's why it's always good whenever Godzilla comes in, but if anybody else comes in and fucks with these countries, guess who goes in to save the day? Yeah, that's right, it's the United States. So Godzilla represents, for all extensive purposes, from now on, when you see a Godzilla movie, Godzilla is the United States. So now, who is this guy? King Kong. Well, we know King Kong is Russia. Generally, King Kong is pretty solitude. In every movie he's ever been in, he's always been by himself. He kind of only wants to do King Kong shit. He doesn't want to get involved in drama. He just wants to go ahead, live his happy little life, and is usually at conflict or odds, oftentimes, with Godzilla, who is trying to be the alpha species, trying to do over here. So this brings him in conflict. However, whenever Godzilla and King Kong team up, just like when the United States and Russia team up, you stand no fucking chance in hell. You're going to get your ass kicked. That's exactly what's going to happen. You can ask Mechagodzilla about that one. So I mean, you know, a badass in his own right, an alpha in his own right. Russia is definitely that King Kong right now. Even though the media tries to downplay Russia whenever it's convenient, and then they try to upplay Russia whenever it's convenient, Russia can hold their own. I'm not worried about Russia. And if Russia wanted to do anything to us, they would have already done it. No need for me to, you know, I believe that the fucking Democrat Party and the mainstream media are a worse threat to the United States than Russia is. But, like I said there yet again, once Russia and the United States get on the same page, well, Lord help you, because you're going to get your ass kicked. That's what's going to happen. So then we go on to Mothra here, which is Europe. Usually Mothra, it has to be woken up. You know, some you know, twin fairies have to go over there and convince Mothra. But generally Mothra takes the time. There's been, you know, Europe has been in conflict with the United States before, but it's not very often. Generally, when you see Mothra come into a movie, she's coming to the aid of Godzilla, just like Europe. It's not going to be a lot of conflict there. We had our conflicts. We've went at war. We've went at each other, but it's not very much. However, you know, generally she comes to aid Godzilla whenever Godzilla's in trouble. She's always generally going to fight on Godzilla's side. You know, no matter who he's, you know, in conflict with. So definitely the European countries are Mothra. So then we come in to our good buddy Anguirus here. Now Anguirus is Canada. Anguirus by itself can't do anything. Anguirus by itself, you know, outside of the one fight that he had with Godzilla, and Godzilla raids again, he really hasn't really been that impressive. And generally, he's brought in as, you know, if you, Anguirus is there to as a distraction, basically to distract a predator or something like that, an alpha species, while Godzilla can get the upper hand. If he's getting double teamed, Anguirus is a good tag team fighter, but on his own, he's probably going to get his ass kicked. He always does. You know, kind of like a jobber. He's a jobber, and, you know, nothing against Canada. They're pretty tough people. But with all due respect, the population of, you know, they have the population of California. They're not going to go in and do anything. They're not going to fight a China or a Russia and, you know, do any real legitimate damage, you know, for the most part. Hell, for the most part, they can't even get fucking Trudeau out of office. So, you know, they're kind of like a weaker kaiju. So I went ahead and put, you know, Anguirus with Canada. Now you have the Latin American countries. And this one's interesting because this is basically a King Kong ripoff. Which is your Latin American countries. You know, a lot of them kind of do a lot of business, ironically, with Russia right now. But basically, Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla was always supposed to be Godzilla and King Kong having to fight off Mechagodzilla. And so, whenever Toho lost the rights to King Kong, that ended up becoming King Caesar here. Which I think fits perfectly. King Caesar, like Europe, is kind of asleep, kind of a little bit dysfunctional. If the Latin American countries could ever come together, I think that they would be a force to be reckoned with, much like King Caesar. They have the resources, they have the manpower. I think that they have the capability. To be honest with you, a lot of them are bilingual. I think that they have the ability, but they would just have to come together and have some sort of structure. That's the only problem with them. And yeah, usually they're going to side with the United States on a lot of shit because guess what? We're all Americans. Even Latin Americans are Americans. So yeah, you know, they'll usually come to our aid, especially like if some shit went down, we're going to end up taking each other's back, Canada, Mexico, and the United States. So I had to give Mexico King Caesar. It only makes sense, you know, he comes, you know, they work together. These are all, you know, friends of Godzilla. Which brings me to the Africans, which we know, no question here, would be Kumanga. Now, Kumanga is an interesting kaiju. Probably could do a lot. Like the African countries, it's a little dysfunctional. But, you know, Kumanga actually could probably be a pretty powerful kaiju. Spits the webs, can, you know, ultimately, you know, subdue its opponent pretty easy. But, you know, it's usually brought in. It's not really that powerful, particularly against stuff like Godzilla. But, you know, in all extensive purposes, one of the more scary and intimidating kaijus. Just like the country of Africa. Africa could probably get together and do something. They would, you know, but just like the Latin American countries, they're kind of like, you know, always discombobulated, trying to go against each other. But if they ever came together, which I think that they're trying to do with this BRICS thing, then they would probably be a pretty thriving economy, to be honest with you. But Kumanga is definitely at the African countries. So we're going to go in now over here. And this is Iberus. Iberus is definitely the fucking Ukraine. Because Iberus only shows up to get his fucking ass kicked. It's just going to get its ass kicked. That's all it's going to do. It's a total jobber. I don't even know why they made this fucking kaiju. And it was in a Godzilla movie. And Godzilla versus the Sea Monster or something like that. And Mothra was probably definitely more intimidating than this little fucking kaiju right here. But basically, he's only going to show up to get his ass kicked. I meant, you know, Baragon. Baragon, who's not even on here, would probably beat the hell out of Iberus here. Iberus is just here to get his ass kicked, just like the Ukraine. There's a little tiny, little bitty kaiju. That's a lobster. What is he gonna do? Is he gonna fight shrimp on your plate at Red Lobster? Is that what he's gonna do? Because it's all he can do. He can't do anything else. He doesn't have any real powers other than to sit there and be a delicacy on your fucking plate. Much like Zelensky over there in the Ukraine you need to shut the fuck up. Just join Russia because you're already a part of Russia. Most of your citizens don't want a fucking war. Most of them speak Russian. They're ethnically Russian. So what the fuck are you doing? Why are we wasting money on some pretendo guy that's gonna go down to the Army Navy surplus? I got a green shirt on. I'm in the Army now, and then go out there. Just that's what it is. So I give Ukraine Everest here. So then we go to Vietnam, which I had to give Gigan Vietnam. Gigan was more of a threat to Godzilla. Vietnam held their own. You know what I'm saying? You ain't fighting that same kind of war and those same kind of tactics today. But given for the time and the period, Vietnam actually went head to head. And Gigan was more of a threat than the next kaiju that I'm going to show. So I had to go ahead and give a legitimate kaiju. It is what it is, and he's a jobber now. Like, Gigan's a jobber. He's like one of the first ones that's going to get his ass kicked. But back in the days, he was a badass. They would always bring him in whenever you had a weaker kaiju like the next kaiju to go ahead and legitimize that kaiju. Now, like I said, the times have changed, and the Vietnam isn't going to have that strength anymore, especially if we have to go over there and fuck some shit up, because we're not going to do it the same way. We've already learned our lessons, but they did hold their own, so, actually they needed to have a stronger kaiju to me, and that would be Gigan. So then we go on to the next one. This guy is a fucking smoke and mirrors song and dance guy, which is Megalon. Megalon's going to go ding, 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 and do his little dances and twirl his little ass around, but he ain't going to do shit. He'll put on a good show, just like North Korea. North Korea says they're going to blow up the fucking moon. Kim Jong-un goes out there, does his little dance and shit like that. And, that's what he does. But he's not going to do shit. He never does. It's just like, I'm going to do this, you guys, until you give me something. And we give him some shit, and then he shuts the fuck up. And it's just whiny. That's kind of like what Megalon is. Complete fucking jobber. But, he's represented, he represents North Korea perfectly. So then we go on here. Now, the real threat is Mechagodzilla, which we know is China. China tries to pretend like they're the same thing as the United States. They're just the evil version of us. You know what I'm saying? Complete and utter fucking communism. No rights, no freedoms, just production work. That's all you're going to get. You get the bare minimum, just like we see how socialism works here. Communism takes away free will pretty much. It takes away personality. It takes away every fucking thing. And so this is basically Mechagodzilla. So then we'll go on to the next one. What's the next one? Oh, here it is, Biollante. It even has fucking terrorists in the movie. That's how fucking close they are to Israel. But just like the Jewish people, which, I'm going to have to do a video on, they kind of put their little ADLUs and their SPLCs and all these little civil rights groups, and they come in and take over entertainment, and they take over the money, and they plant these seeds of doubt and cause all this division, just like the Biollante just started to grow and spread out and take over everything and consume everything. It's exactly what Israel does. So Israel is definitely, Biollante represents Israel. That's exactly what it is. If they ever do a Biollante in the legendary universe, this is the representation of Biollante is Israel. So then we go in here, and you can't do a Godzilla universe without King Ghidorah. And who is King Ghidorah? It's globalism. It's this UN, this whole Vatican spiritual authority, this whole inner London economical control, and that is Washington, D.C., which is the military control, trying to be the Antichrist as much as they fucking can. It's globalism with the UN, trying to take over the world, trying to dominate, trying to be the alpha, trying to go ahead and overthrow all the other kaijus and have them all bow to King Ghidorah. That's exactly what it is. So, definitely, that's globalism. King Ghidorah, badass, is going to kick everybody's ass. And it's up to Godzilla, the United States of America, to go ahead and, stop these evil fucking kaijus from ending up taking over. So anyways, I figured I would go ahead and explain Godzilla on a different level. You people tell me what you think. You like, sub, do the shit the internet tells me to do to get over. And for now, I'm out.